it's Gabby, and today I'm going to be reviewing Everything by Nicola Yoon, which is the first book that I unboxed in my April wrap-up May unboxing video. So if you want to watch that before watching this review, you can go and do that, and I'll link the video down below. But I'm super excited to start reviewing this book and fangirling about it because it was such a good book, so I'm going to get started with it. So can I just say that this book was the perfect book to start out my month of reading for May. It is such a beautiful story, and it's just so fantastic, and I finally understand now why everybody was raving about this book, or why everybody loves this book, because it's just so fantastic and beautiful and so unique and so out there, and just such a good book. I absolutely loved it. I'm so glad that I read it, and it's great. And one of the things that I love about this book is that it's very short and sweet and to the point. So you get to finish it really quickly. You get through it right away. So it doesn't feel like you're sitting there waiting forever to finish the book. You actually are able to enjoy it and get into it because it isn't really that long. And one of the things that's fun about this book that I didn't expect coming into it is that the writing style, there's different types of documents that come together to sort of compile the story. And so it kind of has a contemporary Illuminae-ish feel to it. And so it's basically like a contemporary version of Illuminae in a way. And I did review Illuminae on my channel, so if you want to check that review out, I will link it down below, quick sidebar. But anyway, yeah, an Illuminae-like feel, because there's different types of documents and things that compile this story. There's book reviews, there's IM messages, here. There's different types of charts and pictures and stuff like that that tell this entire story. And one of the things that's also really interesting about it is that this book isn't broken up into chapters. It's broken up into sections that are maybe anywhere from 1 to 4 pages, maybe a little more than 4 pages. But all the sections are very, very short. And so that can sometimes be a problem because you can have these sections that are just really, really choppy and it doesn't all flow nicely, but she makes it flow so nicely. And then when you have the interruption of pictures and different documents or things like that, it also doesn't sort of cut the story or make you lose your focus because you're shifting around so much on what you're focusing on. She also does that really well. So the story is told fantastically in the way that it is told with all these different documents and things like that. And so that was something I was totally not expecting from this book. It was so fantastic and so enjoyable about it. But one of the things that was expected, or not necessarily expected, but one of the things I was able to figure out pretty much right in the beginning of the story was kind of the big plot line or what was going to happen towards the end of the story. I was able to pretty much map it out to a T. So that's why I would give this book 4.5 stars out of 5, just because it was somewhat predictable, and I'm not a big fan of predictable books, but nonetheless, the story was so absolutely fantastic. And it wasn't one of those things where it was cliche and you're oh, I'm immediately able to figure out what happened sort of thing. It was just sort of I was reading it and I'm yeah, I can kind of figure out now what's happening. So that's why I would give it 4.5 stars out of 5. But other than that, it was absolutely fantastic story, and it's so beautiful and so worth reading. And basically, I would recommend this book to you if you like things that have to do with family and illnesses and relationships and romance and togetherness and exploring the world and a whole bunch of other fun stuff like that. So this book, I feel is something for everybody because it's such a beautiful story and so worth reading. So please go and read it, guys, because you are going to love it. So to give you guys a quick summary of this book, I already did a very, very minimalistic one in my May unboxing video that I posted on Monday. So if you want to watch that video, I'll be linking it down below if you haven't watched it yet. So definitely go and watch that. But a summary of this book. We follow our main character, Madeline, and she's the person whose point of view we see. And her name is also Maddie, and she has this disease called SCID, which basically means that she is allergic to everything. So that's kind of where you get the title, Everything, because she's allergic to everything. And so she wears all white, and so that's why I'm wearing a white shirt, if you're wondering. She, is very minimalistic about the food that she eats, and she's basically been quarantined her entire life and has little exposure to the world outside because they don't know what could kill her or, mess with her. They don't know what could send her into, one of these attacks. So she essentially has to be kept away from everything. And so suddenly one day, a new kid moves in across the street, and his name is Ollie, and he has an abusive father who basically is an angry drunk, and so he beats up his mother and his 2 children, which is Ali, and then his sister, who like smokes, so his whole family situation is kind of crap. And so basically, Ali then comes into Madeline's life, and he gets to sort of introduce her to this whole world that she's has been shut away from. And so you start to see Maddie sort of grow in this world and start to get more exposure to the world and kind of see all these things that she's been missing these 19 years of her life and become more of a teenage girl. And you start to see them sort of change each other and how their whole relationship and dynamic happens and how them sort of coming together messes with Maddie's disease and other things that go on and her mother and a whole bunch of other different relationships and things that go on. So it's definitely a very interesting story if you're into family and relationships and diseases, so sort of like a Fault in Our Stars sort of thing. But this book is so fantastic and so unique and just so worth reading, and I loved it so much, so I totally recommend you read it. And if you want a more in-depth summary, there's a front cover here that you can read. So I totally recommend reading this book, but I'm going to get into the spoiler section now, so definitely go and read this book, and then once you finish, we can come back and we can fangirl together, but you gotta read the book first, so go and read it. So goodbye, non-spoiler people, enjoy the book. So let's just cut right to the chase. So I basically said before that I almost pretty much predicted the storyline. I had predicted before, and I was like right towards the beginning-ish of the book, I predicted that her mom had made up this disease, or not made it up, but like said her daughter had this disease when she didn't, because like the mom was heartbroken over the loss of the father and her son, and maybe it was because they got into some like horrible fight, and so the husband left with the son and basically just ran off, and she has no idea where they are, and so she was so heartbroken over the loss of her husband and her son that she wanted to shield her daughter from all of that heartbreak and also make sure that her daughter like never like left and experienced all of these things. She didn't want her daughter to experience that, so she basically shut her away from the world so that she would never experience true love and like fall in love and leave her, and also then maybe get heartbroken as well. So I was sort of off in a way. Basically her mom did it because she didn't ever want to lose her daughter because her husband and her son had died, and so she didn't want to then have her daughter leave and her have nobody. So that's why she kept her daughter in this like bubble, kept her Florentine, and said that she had this disease when there was no actual proof that she had it, so she wasn't even misdiagnosed at all. And another thing, I thought the mother would have been aware of it the entire time, like she would have actually known that she was making up this disease, that her daughter had it. But actually, she had lied to herself so much that she was actually able to believe that her daughter had this disease. And so she was the one that was actually sick and not her daughter. And that's just so screwed up when you actually, like, take a step back and think about it. You just kind of realize, like, that's absolutely insane. Because all kids have to grow up and have to experience heartbreak in order to live in the world. And so for the mother to shield her daughter from life for her entire existence is just freaking crazy as hell. And I figured out, like, somewhat into the book, I was like, you know, the mom, she seems off. I don't like her. She's like the villain in a way. Like, technically there aren't really villains in contemporary stories because it isn't like good or evil. It's just more like life. But like, she could be a villain-esque in a way. Like, that's kind of like, what even? So I also thought Carla, who is the nurse, I figured she probably would have known too. And that it was maybe a sort of thing where it was like, her mom hired this nurse to be like, okay, you know, I'm actually making this up because I don't want my daughter to go into the world, and you have to keep this secret. But it wasn't obviously that. But I was somewhat close. Like, I basically predicted it. And so I felt, like, happy with myself that I was able to, like, predict it, like, that well, or at least get to, like, the big point of it. So I was very happy about that, although then you actually find out you're right, and then you're like, well, this kind of sucks. I kind of wish I would have been wrong. But I still really, really enjoyed the book nonetheless, and I think it's definitely very interesting how they made this motherly character and how they had this strong relationship because the mother was so mentally fragile herself. And so it's definitely very interesting now to see that since Maddie never had this disease now, the effect is that she has the immune system of an infant and that she's never had any exposure to any of the common illnesses that we have, like the stomach flu and strep throat, and maybe even chickenpox if she didn't get vaccinated because she could have been allergic to the vaccinations, even though none of that's really covered in the book. She has no exposure to any of the common illnesses, and so she isn't really immune to them, which means her immune system is like that of an infant's. Like, she could get sick, like a common cold could, like, be, like, a lot worse for her. So, basically, now, since her mother has done this to her immune system and done that to her, she's grown up in this quarantine area, she really still even can't go out into the world because she could just easily get very, very, very sick with something so common that all of us are just very much immune to, and we just kind of have to fight off. So that's kind of interesting to see how her mother's action now impacts the daughter. So let's talk about this, like, little adventure that Maddie goes on with Ollie. And this is a moment where I was like, holy shit. Like, this is where it's kind of going to tell me whether she's actually sick or not. Like, I think this is going to be the pivotal point for me that actually tells me this. And then I believe my theory is right. And so she goes to Hawaii with Ollie for, like, 2 days. And so she says she has pills when she does it. And so she's going on this trip, and, like, her and Ollie have sex, and, like, they finally actually get to see each other and spend, time with each other, and there's no, like, restrictions or rules or anything. They actually get to be a genuine couple and have a typical life and a typical relationship. And you see that Maddie really enjoys this, and that she's definitely very happy to be a normal teenager and get to see all these things that she never got to see before, and to be in the ocean, and, like, she gets to jump off a cliff, which is a really cool moment, and that she gets to do all these typical teenager-y things, and she gets to spend, 2 days with someone she really, really cares about. And that's just so beautiful, and I loved it, I loved it, I loved it, until the mom was like, oh, I'm going to come after you, and then she ends up getting sick, and then you think, oh, shit, she actually does have the disease, and I was like, I was wrong, so I thought that for a second, and then you find out that disease was just the fact that her immune system, since it's so weak and she has the immune system of an infant, she could have easily caught, like, a simple, like, disease, and it's made out to be a lot worse. And so then she, like, comes home from this trip, and, like, Ollie, like, freaks out, and he's like, oh my gosh, you lied to me, you never had any pills, and you got sick, and you could have killed yourself. And so then they break up, and Ollie moves to New York because the mother finally leaves the husband, and so, like, he's gone, and then Maddie's super upset because she doesn't get to see him anymore, but then she also doesn't want to see him anymore because she just wants to be normal and wants to live her contaminated life, because she realizes now that she is actually sick and that there's really nothing she can do about it, and that she doesn't want to just have to have her relationship be based on just contamination and having to do all of this quarantine and things like that. She wants to have a normal relationship. And if she can't have it, then she doesn't want one at all. And so then she finds out from one of the doctors there that she doesn't actually have this disease, and she starts looking and seeing that there was never even any proof that she had it, and so she confronts her mom, and her mom, like, acts like she's insane, and then she talks to her nurse, Carla, and then they go and they get tested, and basically, she also gets a confirmation that she already knew that she never had this disease. And then she, like, freaking flips out on her mom, and she just, like, locks herself in her room, and her mother, like, then gets her cell phone, and her mother tries to make it up to her, but she, like, still doesn't even understand the fact that her daughter doesn't even have this disease, because she lied to herself and made herself physically believe she has this disease, and it's just so, oh my gosh, all at once just being, like, thrown at you, and it's just, oh my gosh, it's absolutely insane. So all this is happening all at once, and then you get to the end, and the end is what really, really did it for me. And it's what redeemed this book and didn't make it feel so much like, oh my gosh, yeah, I saw it coming, was the fact that then she texts Ollie and she's like, okay, come to this used bookstore in New York and go to, like, the aisles, whatever, and you'll know when you find it. There's, like, a present there for you. And so what it is it's her copy of The Little Prince, and she, like, wrote in there that, like, if this book is found, you get to do several different things, and one of them is, like, that you get me. And so then you, like, see that on the last page that it's literally like this, like, it's literally the cover of The Little Prince, and it's like, if you get it, you get Madeline, and then it's the end, and I was just like, no, 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 this is not how the story ends. I need more, I need more, I need more. There has to be at least something here that, like, tells me that, like, they get together. Like, so what I basically figure is that Maddie said she really was never coming back, and so she left her mom, so I think her and Ollie are going to get an apartment in New York, and they're going to live together, and they're going to get married, and they're going to live happily ever after, and it was just so beautiful. The way it ended, it was just like, oh my God. Like, did anybody else, like, close that book and just feel like, holy what just happened? Like, oh my gosh, I like freaked. Like, I was reading it in bio, and that's like the worst class of the day for me. And so I was like, I wanted to just scream, and I couldn't. And it was just, oh my God, it was so good. And it just totally redeemed the book for me, and it's just so fantastic. And it was just, oh my God, so good. Please tell me, those of you that have read it, have fangirled this hard about it like I did. Like, you were just like, holy like, I couldn't even, like, process what happened, because this book was so good, and I loved it, and just for it to end like that, and just not have, like, any legitimate confirmation of, like, what actually happened here. My God. Just, oh my God. It was so good! So I think I'm going to wrap up this video here, because it is a major feel explosion. And so I apologize about that, but I think I got to everything I wanted to get to. So my favorite part of everything was definitely this beach scene in Hawaii where Maddie gets to go swimming and she gets to jump off this cliff, and she's just totally fearless and finally is getting to live a normal teenager life and finally getting to do all the things that she could never do because of her illness. And it's such a beautiful scene. I love the way it was written, the way it was told, and it was so great to finally see our character getting to, like, reach that pivotal success point. And so I loved reading it, and it was just, I loved it. It's so beautiful. So definitely comment down below your favorite part of this book, and comment down all your feels and all your thoughts, because I would definitely love to talk about it with you guys, because this book was fan-freaking-tastic. So definitely go and read it if you haven't. So thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.